Hi, stamping friends. It's Sherry Parker coming to you live on Monday, August 4th. Thank you for joining me live if you are live. It is not my normal night that I do a Facebook Live, typically a Wednesday, but I'm having some foot surgery tomorrow, so I wanted to hop on here tonight while I can still come down to my stamp room, and I have 2 cute cards to show you. And then next week when I'm not able to access all of my stuff, we're gonna play it by ear. I've got a couple guest presenters, I think, in the next few weeks. So just, you never know what will come about. So stay tuned and hopefully it'll be a lot of fun. Did want to at least follow up on the Let's Eradicate Loneliness One Card at a Time challenge. July is over. The challenge was, just commit to sending 15 cards during the month of July to spread kindness. And I was so overwhelmed by the response. I think we had about 110 people participate. We had approximately 60 people in our Facebook group. So it's really fun to see the different ideas, people really getting excited about sending cards and just brightening somebody's day. So in total, I would guess that we sent as a group about 1,650 cards. I know some people sent more, maybe not everyone made their goal, and that's okay. I mean, all of it is just in the spreading kindness vein, and I do appreciate everyone who participated. Even if you weren't part of the formal group or anything, even just sending cards, we can do that any day, right? So thank you again, I appreciate it, and can't wait to continue the kindness. So thank you. I'm going to turn my camera over and we'll get started on tonight's program. I did want to mention that tomorrow Stampin' Up! Is going to be announcing an in-color product sale. So it goes through the end of August, starts tomorrow. So be sure you check it out. sherrythomas.stampinup.net is my website, and it'll have a lot more information on the website tomorrow. So it's a great time to stock up on, ink pads, cardstock refills, things like that, consumable products. Why not save a little bit of money while you're at it? So I did want to mention that for tomorrow. Hi, Felicia. All right. When we had our on-stage event several months back, I received this stamp set right here, Peaceful View, and I had not actually even used it, opened it up since that event. So tonight I thought, you know what, I'm going to use this stamp set and just play around with it. And I've got 2 really simple cards that show you the versatility of these large stamps. I know sometimes these can be intimidating because it's a big stamp and sometimes it's daunting, like what do I do with that? So I'm going to show you 2 quick ideas tonight. This stamp set is found on page 97 of our annual catalog, and you can see a couple different samples. There's a sample where it's stamped on designer series paper, and then another one right here where it looks like they stamped it with Versamark and used some chalk to color the different branches and tree trunk and everything. So that is tonight's project. And then just to show you what we're making, I have 2 different techniques here. Hi, Angie, thanks for joining. And so one of them will stamp right on designer series paper. This is a very quick card. And then another where we're creating our own background and we're creating more of like a window pane effect. So we'll get started. We're going to start with this one because it's very, very quick and easy. So if you've ever ordered one of our big stamps, you can see they're very good size. Got a little dimensional in there. Typically they're the rubber mounted stamps like that. So, if you're used to the photopolymer and you can see through it, this will be a little bit different. So just so that you're aware. Hi, Michelle. So what I recommend is just kind of turning it over like this and then inking from above. I'm going to use this Memento Black ink pad, and typically if I've got a big stamp like this, I might just swipe over real easily like that, and then I'll start kind of tapping it lightly so that more ink goes onto the actual stamp. And the nice thing about doing it this way is you can really see when your stamp has a good amount of ink on it. Because, we've been there before where you think you've inked up your stamp well and then you stamp it onto the paper and not so much. So it looks like I've got pretty good coverage there. And what I'm gonna do is take a piece of Designer Series paper. This is the Thoughtful Journeys Designer Series paper at 6x6. And I'm going to just simply put it over top and press, okay? Now you can also, you can use a brayer. Sometimes people do that, or you can turn it over like this and then just press again, just to give it some nice pressure so you get a good impression. And then when you lift up your stamp, there you go. So look how easy that is, and you've already got a background. So it looks like a nice little sunset and everything. So now really all I have to do is trim this up, and I'm gonna use my paper trimmer here. And this stamp is essentially a card front. So I wanna cut it down just a little bit. I'm gonna square off the edges. So I just sliced right along the edge there. And then I'll do the same from the bottom. And then I wanna make sure it's 4 inches wide by 5 1/4. So I've cut it down, all 4 edges, and I've got my card front. Super easy. And then one really cool thing is, of course, you end up with a little strip of Designer Series paper that you can do something else with. So to complete this card, just a few more little steps. I'm going to mount this for some contrast to a white backing like that. So my Designer Series paper piece is 4 by 5 1/4. This white piece is just 1/8 of an inch larger. So it's gonna be a very narrow border. And then we'll layer it again onto the Secret C card base. Hi Sharon, thank you. So we'll just simply put this on the front of our card, and we got a nice, very simple card. And then just to give it a little bit more depth, well, first I'm gonna put a piece of white on the inside because this is a very dark card base. So that'll be the inside. And then a couple last touches. I did cut out with the Stylish Shape dies this little banner here. And I've got a greeting, thinking of you, that I'm going to stamp on here. Like that. And then I'm going to actually trim off to the right. So I'll use my paper trimmer again and get rid of those little scraps. You could use, your snips or something. But if you wanted it to be straight, you could use your paper trimmer like that. I'll grab a couple Stampin' Dimensionals. Thanks, Felicia. And I'm going to put this down here in the lower right. And then I've got just enough space here. If you haven't seen these are the In Color iridescent dots. And so since we're using Secret C as our card base, I'll grab one of those really cool dots and put that on our card. Very easy. And then last touch, Secret C ribbon. This In Color ribbon is beautiful. So of course, with the In Color sale, you want to make sure you check out all of the different things that come in the In Colors. And this sale is not just for the new In Colors, it's actually for the last 2 years. So all the different In Colors that you might be familiar with from the last couple years. So I think lastly, I'll just cut these tails and then we're done. So that didn't take much time at all. So I just wanted to show you how simple it is to create a very pretty card with minimal supplies and effort. So that is our first card. Second card I showed you is this one here. So we'll be using this in the same way, but instead of stamping on Designer Series paper, we're gonna create our own background. So for this card, I'm gonna get my scrap paper back here. I've got a piece of white cardstock, and we will take our blending brushes, and I'm going to use Misty Moonlight, so that's kind of a dark blue. Tap off just a little bit and then slowly start filling in. So remember, you can always go darker, but you can't go lighter. So this is just the dark color. And then here we go. We've got Azure Afternoon. And it's a little bit lighter, brighter blue. So we will blend that. We're just creating a nice backdrop. And you know why you want to tap it off, hopefully. That way you don't get nice big blobs on your blending projects. So I've done the two colors. You can always go darker. Like I said, maybe I'll fill in with a little bit more of the dark blue up here at the top. All right, so we've created our background. And then next what we'll do is we'll stamp the same ink. We'll ink it up the same way that we did the first card. So again, I kind of like to swipe it like this. Hi, Sheila. The first blue was Misty Moonlight. And then the second blue was Azure Afternoon. So sorry if I didn't say that. So I'm using those two colors and then black for the stamp. So we will ink this up real well. And then one thing I wanted to point out, because this is such a large surface area, sometimes you'll get little marks like that. And I would just carefully, I have this fun little rag here that I can use, but I would just try to get those off of your stamp. That way you won't get really stray lines. So I did do one earlier where I got the stray lines. I'm going to put my cardstock right over top, just like we did the first card. Kind of press. And then again, I like to put it face down and just kind of push on it to give it a nice, good impression. Okay, and voila. So that is all done, and you got a really nice impression. We're going to cut it out now with the Everyday Arches dies. And one thing I wanted to point out too, you can see the different intensity of the black from these two different papers. And that's because the Designer Series paper, it's printed paper, and it's a little bit more porous than our basic white cardstock like this. So the ink will sit on this cardstock a little bit nicer, and you'll see how you'll get a darker black. Just wanting to make sure that you understand that, because you will see a little bit of the background when you stamp onto the Designer Series paper. But I actually like it. I like how it looks. I like actually both ways. So what we'll do next, if the Everyday Arches, it's a wonderful die cut set, all these nesting arches, and I picked the two different sizes, the last and the second to last. And I'm gonna go ahead and run this through my die cut machine. So just position it wherever you want. I'm gonna run it through over here and show you in just a second. All right. Moved it a little bit by accident. Okay. So when I take it out, it'll look like that. And then we can easily layer it onto the next size up for the arch dies. And this is cut out in the Azure Afternoon as well. I got some black ink on my hands, so it looks like I'm getting little stray marks on my fingers. Sharon, I just saw what you said, and I'm gonna look at my little sheet. I thought it was all the in colors, but maybe it's not. Maybe it's just the new ones. So I will double check that. So thank you for calling that out. Okay, so I've layered on here, and then just like I did for this card with the Stylish Shapes dies, I cut out the banner with the Balmy Blue, and I'm going to use the same Thinking of You stamp. And this time, I'll stamp it on the opposite side. Ooh, I didn't stamp that very straight, did I? I'm gonna turn it over. And there you go. And then I will trim this one off. Oh, thanks, Marion. Yeah, thank you for keeping me honest. I printed it out and I guess I didn't read it very carefully. So thank you guys. And there you go. So this one I'm going to line up right here. I did want to show you. So when I was showing you about, you know, wiping off your stamp, you can see there I got a little mark on there. So I just moved my greeting to cover that up. So those are little tricks you can try. If you do make a mistake, no reason to re-stamp the whole thing, right? So, and like I did it on the reverse side. So for this guy, I'm gonna place it over here, and I'm going to add the rhinestone, or the embellishment here, the iridescent gemstone, and we'll be ready to finish the card. So for this one, I have a card base that's actually a vertical card base, and I'm going to, instead of gluing it down or taping it down, I'm going to have dimensionals on the back and give it a little bit of dimension. So just put it right to the card front. It looks like you're looking out a window, doesn't it? And then really the last couple touches, this is a pretty borderline color because you really don't need to put an inside white piece in there, but I had one, so I thought I would just go ahead and place it on the inside. But sometimes with the lighter cardstocks, you don't really need to do that. Save your supplies. And then last, we're going to use our Secret Sea ribbon again. And I'm telling you, this ribbon is one of my favorite. It's just such a silky, nice ribbon that lays really well as either a bow or a knot. So, whoops, put those tails off. And then that card is done as well. The Groovy Gem Picker, this is our take a pick tool. Gosh, I had a brain freeze there. And it's really nice because it has different ends. So this is great for getting gemstones off. There's a pointer. There is a little sticky thing that, like, if you want to pick up a piece of paper that it sticks to. So a lot of versatile different tips to this, the take a pick tool. So thanks for asking, Michelle. Oh, thanks, Marion. Appreciate that. So there's our 2 cards. What do you think? Do you like stamping right on the Designer Series paper? Or do you like to maybe customize it a little bit to the colors that you have in your palette? So I'd be curious to know what you think. And remember, if you comment on or share my weekly videos, then your name is automatically entered to win the projects that I make every week. So I'll be giving away these 2 cards next week. Oh, thank you, Felicia. So last week we made, if you remember, oh, wait, before I go into that, I wanted to show you, I stamped the same stamp on 2 different Designer Series papers. These are the ones from Everyday Skies. So, I mean, honestly, any Designer Series paper that looks kind of outdoorsy would look super pretty with this, I think. And I didn't even add a greeting on these. I thought they were just nice, simple cards. So I want to show you that. All right. So moving on, last week we made this card and we used kind of that window pane technique where we used our stylus and with the fold lines we stamped right over it, but it has a nice kind of mosaic looking part to it. And then a few weeks before that we made envelopes so that this will coordinate. And rather than just sending someone an envelope, I thought maybe it'd be fun to give them the envelope with the card. So anyone who commented on or shared the last 2 videos, your name's in here and I will draw and pick somebody's name. All right. Naomi Morris, you are the recipient of this card and envelope, and I will mail that to you. Just like that. So thank you for watching every week. I do appreciate it. And I know you're busy and have lots going on, so I do appreciate it if you watch it live or even on replay. Or you can also catch it on my YouTube channel because Facebook does delete videos after 30 days. So thanks again. I hope you like this card, or the stamp set, Peaceful View, and the 2 cards that we made tonight. And I look forward to seeing you next week on our regular night. Sorry about the early video this time, but I should be back on schedule next week, and appreciate you, and have a great rest of your week. Thanks.